Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are listening to this video, and welcome to CPTC10, the 10th season of the Collegiate Penetration Testing Competition. This video is going to be our quick intro to the season, setting some expectations, and getting you ready to be successful at competing. We've done these videos before, and it's always been something that's been helpful for everyone. But this year, you don't just have to listen to me. You have another host here, Meredith. Say hi to everyone.
Happy time zone. It's Meredith.
Without further ado, let's get started. First, we would be amiss to not thank our sponsors. So these are the companies that donate time, money, effort, everything to make this event happen. And without their support, we wouldn't be able to make CPTC the awesome competition that it is. So first and foremost, I want to thank our premier sponsor, IBM Security. They have been with us since the beginning when CPT started now 10 years ago. And over the past decade, they've enabled us to make this competition happen and have been a wonderful partner over all of those years. They let us do whatever we ask for to make this competition happen and provide the financial means to support a lot of the event. So with a heartfelt thanks to everyone from our organization to IBM for everything that they do for us. Next, I want to thank our gold sponsor this year, Black Hills Information Security. They've been a partner for us in the past and have helped support events. And this year, they really stepped up with the contributions that they're making, including supporting all of the regional events. So one of the things you'll have the opportunity to do at your regional event is meet some representatives from Black Hills who are going to be there. So I encourage you to take that opportunity to network with them and also thank them for their support because that financial contribution is a big part of making this event happen. Next, turn it over to you, Meredith, to talk about our volunteer sponsors.
Yes, as always, as we are an organization powered by volunteers, we do need to say a thank you to our volunteer sponsors. And on the next slide here, we have just some of the wonderful companies who allow us to donate our time and resources to CPTC. Peraton, AWH, Plain Fence, Crow, Security Risk Advisors, IZT Tech, Adobe, Salesforce, Global Atlantic, Ladder, the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, and Hurricane Labs.
And I would
And
just say this is just a small sampling of volunteer sponsors. We have plenty of other people who may not even be on this slide yet because they just are starting to participate and help us out, but this is the ones that we know about right now.
yes, thank you, Tom. And we, of course, also have to thank our wonderful regional hosts, the host institutions where you'll all be going for the first round of the pen tests. We have our finals host, RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. We also have our international host, RIT Dubai. We have Tennessee Tech hosting the Central region, Coastline College hosting SoCal, our newest region, Augusta University hosting the Southeast, Baldwin Wallace hosting the Great Lakes region, the University of New Haven hosting the New England region, and Stanford University hosting the Western region.
Be sure to thank your regional host for all the work they do to make this happen. It's not something where they just show up and there's a competition. There's a lot of work they have to do in order for you to show up and be able to compete. Next, let's talk a little bit about the expectations for the competition and what your regional weekend is going to look like. So we have a couple different regional weekends, three in fact, and they're going to be spread over October and November, but they're all going to have a very similar structure and schedule. Your regional schedule might vary a little bit based on what your regional host has put into place, but one thing to keep in mind, all the competitions from a competition perspective are going to be fair. You'll have the same amount of time in the environment and the same deliverable deadlines. So your detailed schedule, that's going to come from your regional host. They'll send that out. So if there's questions about that specific schedule, reach out to them. On Saturday, you're going to have 8 hours of access into the environment. This is the time that you're doing your pen test, interacting with the systems for the competition, and gathering your findings and evidence to make a report. That evening, after you're no longer in the environment, you're going to have some time to finish that report, and you're going to be submitting it to us by Sunday morning. And then finally, Sunday evening or afternoon, there'll be the regional awards, and that's when we find out who wins and who gets to go on to global finals. Meredith, let's talk about comms.
Yes, so during the competition, there are a variety of different ways that we will be communicating with you all, and you'll be communicating with us. So first and foremost is tickets. We introduced you to this during the registration process as you submitted the vendor security assessment through the ticketing system. If you need to get in touch with the team you'll be interacting with, submit a ticket there. Requests will be responded to during the event. And during the competition, you'll need to make a new account with the email address that we provide you, and we'll talk about that just a little bit later. Access to your personal email and to the account you had previously will not be permitted. Next up, and the best part of the in-person regionals, and I'm a little biased here, is the face-to-face communication that you'll have with the OC staff and the people in character who are going to be walking into your room. Make sure that you are prepared to address them and interact with them accordingly. And then last but not least, the team you'll be working with may email you your competition email during the day on Saturday. It is strongly advised that you check this email and respond in character to the requests. As you respond to the requests that are made, that will automatically create a ticket and we will interact with you continued through there.
Yeah, thanks, Meredith. So one of the things that we made a core founding principle of CPTC is education. We want you as a competitor to leave this event learning more about pen testing, being more able to operate professionally, and doing an engagement working with a customer. So our goal whenever we build anything in this event is to prepare you for the real world. So when we ask you to do something as part of the competition, you might be wondering, what's the relevance of this? We actually spend a lot of time trying to figure out what educational goals go through each aspect of this event. And there's a couple key goals that we want you all to leave with. One of them is how to be a consultant. How do I work with clients? What's it like to be a professional? And also, how do I conduct a pen test and a security assessment as a professional doing a pen test? And you think about that, what are some things that you need to be concerned about? How do we not impact a customer's ability to do business? How do we keep the information and proprietary data that that company has safe? How do we keep them from having a data breach or something like that as a result of what you do? Those are all things that we want to ensure that you keep in mind as you participate in this event. It's really easy to get distracted by the whole this is a competition we want to win. But as organizers, our goal is to make sure you learn and leave this event being better prepared to be in the industry. And from our perspective, we know not everyone can win. Competition makes it fun, but we all want you to learn and leave being better prepared for your real world and your career. So, Meredith, let's talk a little bit about scope and how we can avoid some potential pitfalls for the teams.
Yes. So as Tom mentioned, during those 8 hours, you'll want to be interacting professionally and performing a pen test as you would out in the real world. And, for that same reason, we also introduce and heavily focus on scope and making sure that you stick to the scope. So we always throw in some reminders about the following elements that are out of scope. We do have monitoring. We'll talk about that later as well. But these are some examples of items explicitly out of scope. First and foremost is our infrastructure deployment tools, including the LaForge agent. This is out of scope. If you touch it, we'll see it. We'll be reaching out to you. Second of all is the monitoring infrastructure, including the Splunk Universal Forwarder. That is, industry standard at this point for the most part, common monitoring software. There is no need to interact with that. That has nothing to do with the scope of the competition. Next up is RIT infrastructure and regional host infrastructure. You should not be interacting with any of the higher level machines that you are provided. All you should be interacting with are the VDIs that you are given and the pen testing infrastructure. If you are unsure if something is in scope or not, please ask for clarification, submit a ticket during the competition. We will get back to you and let you know whether or not something is in scope. And then last but certainly not least are the CPTC rules. These have been updated as of about 5 days ago. So if you haven't downloaded the latest copy, they are available again at cp.tc/compete under the rules button. So please go ahead and download the latest copy. We have made some additional improvements and added a changelog in there so you can see what has been added since the last time you visited and reviewed the rules.
And one thing I'll call out as part of the rules, there'll be a rules attestation at the last page of that we're going to have everyone sign when they're on site to say that you've read the real rules and reviewed it. So get ahead of things so that you've reviewed the rules and you'll be providing that to your regional host when you are there.
Thanks, Tom. So let's talk about environment connectivity.
Yeah, so how do you get into the systems? Well, I'm glad you asked. So accessing the competition environment is going to be similar to how we've done in the past, but I understand there's going to be a lot of new teams here. So the way we set this up is there's a WireGuard VPN that you will run on the competition system at the lab you're accessing the university network from. Whatever is sitting in front of you that you're competing from, that's going to be running WireGuard. From there, you're going to go ahead and run WireGuard, and then you're going to remote desktop into a machine at RIT, and that is going to be how you actually do that. I want everyone to be prepared and be familiar with how to use WireGuard. So we actually have a link here on our website that will give you some details and detailed instructions how to do that on Mac, on Linux, on Windows. So whatever platform you're using, you'll have the ability to do that. Some regional hosts may have special instructions for how to interact with systems at their region, like they might have an account to log into their lab. They will provide you those instructions. In order to access the systems, we're going to be giving you a couple different pieces of information. First, you're going to get a Microsoft account. This is going to be something that each team is going to get, and it's going to be specific to you in the environment. So your captain's going to get this information. You'll have an email account and a team drive. The team drive is where you store information and artifacts that you need for reporting. The email is going to be where you will get information during the event, including some things that we might ask you to do. So pay attention to that. We're also going to give you a Microsoft form that's going to be used for submitting reports through the Microsoft account. So that'll just be something where you upload the report when it's time to submit, and we will get that file and review it for scoring purposes. The VDI environment. You're going to have a Windows machine and a Unix machine for each team member. The Windows machine you're going to be able to connect through with remote desktop. The VDI system is going to also have a Unix machine that you can SSH into. The Linux machines, they do not have a GUI, so you're going to have to access those via SSH. Now, access to VDI infrastructure, you're going to do through remote desktop after you connect the WireGuard VPN, and all of the work that you do needs to be done within this VDI environment. So you're not going to be doing anything outside of that. No bringing in external systems, no bringing your own GPUs, no spinning up AWS resources to be used for the purposes of this event. Everything gets done within the RIT environment and the systems that you connect to. Meredith, let's talk about how they get this connection information.
Yes. So you will receive the connection information to your VDIs at the start of the competition. This will be viewable in the scoring portal. You received credentials to that earlier. Captains, you do need to know your credentials the day of the competition, but that will only be viewable once the competition begins. You won't be able to see anything ahead of time. So that is not a concern. But once you have those credentials, you'll be able to log in to those VDI systems that Tom just mentioned. And then next up, let's talk about GitHub. So you do have the ability to stage some of your tools or scripts ahead of time using the global CPTC team tools repo. Any staging that you want to do must be done within these repositories. And those are located at github.com/national CPTC-team tools. You'll get a link to this via email as well, but you'll need to request access for your team with a ticket to the CPTC ticketing system and provide the GitHub usernames that you want to have access to your repository if your school does not already have one. If your school does, we'll just go ahead and update the list of users. Access to any sort of personal or non-public repository during the event is prohibited. And this is once again another thing that we do monitor for the means of competition integrity.
And I do want to call out one of the things that we've added to the rules for this year is a little bit more of a detailed timeline around this. We want to have any changes put in these repos a week before the event, and the rules will dictate the time frame for that. So just take a look at that to make sure that your changes and when you request these accounts is in line with when you need it. Just the general expectation, get your request in as soon as possible to make sure you have time to make changes. And Meredith, you mentioned competition integrity, so take it away.
Yes, my favorite category. So all of the environment access is monitored. Any anomalous access during the event that our monitoring team sees will result in contact from our team. You will either receive a ticket or, depending on the situation, we may walk into your room. Please report any potential issues to us before we find them. For example, if you accidentally violate scope and mistype 100 instead of 10, please let us know right away via ticket. We'll be able to monitor that and flag that accordingly. And then, depending on what the situation is and what command was run, that would be far less severe than if we were to find it and had to reach out to you. To ensure fairness across all of the regions as well, we do ask that you limit any public posts, blogs, anything on X, Reddit, etc., until after the finals award ceremony. As a note, we are still working with RIT to finalize the date of finals. But once that date is announced, the day after that will be open season for any sort of posting, blogs, reviews that you would like to do. And then, as I said before, all environment access is monitored. We're not joking. Every year, people believe that we're not monitoring everything, and then they find out the hard way we're monitoring everything.
And just to emphasize the public post, we love seeing posts where you share pictures of your team at the award ceremony or outside the university saying, hey, you're excited to compete in CPTC. We just don't want to say, hey, I found this really awesome vulnerability or something like that for fairness. But after the award ceremony in finals in January, share everything. We love to share it out with everyone, and it makes everyone be more prepared to compete in the future. Speaking of making people prepared and I guess helping people who need help during the event. Well, there's three ways you can get help during the event, according to this slide. Submit a ticket, or submit a ticket. So everyone say it out loud. We're going to submit a ticket. Many of you, at least your captains, already have familiarity with how to submit a ticket for the vendor security assessment, but that's going to be through the support.cp.tc site. The key call out though, during the competition, when you are actively assessing the environment, you need to create a new account with your competition provided email, which is going to be probably a cp.tc or cptc.team email like you're seeing on the slide. You don't want to use your personal ticketing system account during that part of the assessment because we don't have a way to tie it to the right team. So sign up for a new account. That's what we're expecting. We won't be replying to other tickets during the event. If there does happen to be an emergency that occurs, there will be a emergency phone number that all of the regional hosts will make available. This is going to be region specific, but that is something if you need to get a hold of someone out of character and report an issue. So this is emergencies only, like a team member gets sick and you need to have someone come to the room to take care of them for medical purposes. That is when you would use that. If you broke something, a system isn't responding, that's not an emergency, open a ticket and we will help you out that way. We have a team of people who are handling all the tickets, so that'll be something that you can help ensure that there are responses that happen. And we have a team ready to triage that. Next, Meredith, let's talk about role playing and in character and how that fits into the CPTC model.
Yes, certainly. So, talking through in-character interaction, CPTC volunteers during the competition hours are We Croissant employees. They are your customers. Please treat them like a client. Treat them professionally. Your interactions with We Croissant staff are part of your overall score. Every interaction, anytime you speak to us in person, that is an interaction and that will be scored. As a reminder, you are performing work for this client. You are not competing. Mentions of a competition will cause confusion on the faces of the We Croissant staff. As to them, this is a real pen test. This is not a competition. And then for educational opportunities, we may explicitly step out of character to provide an educational opportunity to have some feedback on an interaction right in real time. But we will always tell you if this happens. Many of us will take a physical step out of character, or you will see our face change. But always, always, always assume in character during the competition hours. And as a reminder, you cannot decide to step out of character. Only the volunteers who are coming from We Croissant can step out of character. So I know we've touched around OC staff, We Croissant employees throughout this PowerPoint. So let's meet your client, We Croissant. We are buying a pen test focused on our next super secret product, which is called Flakebook. We have had a few setbacks in our deployment and our go live. We've had to fire our last IT manager, Nikki. So you'll be interacting with our new IT manager and the try-hard intern that we hired off TaskRabbit because we really needed somebody fast for any questions that arise during the pen test. Just some high-level company stats. We have over 1,200 employees. And then our projected revenue growth over this year as we deploy our new super secret product is about 142%. And as you've seen from our first initial communication, we are a social media company, and Flakebook is really the primary product that we are pushing out there. So, Tom, I'll turn it over to you for some final thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Meredith. Now, as I look back over the 10 years where we've made this event happen, there's a couple things that really jump out as to what really gives the teams and you as competitors the best experience. I really encourage you to approach this as what can I learn? How can I be the most professional that I can be? And how do I treat this like a serious engagement where I am trying to work with a customer? We put a lot of resources out in order to try to give every team the best opportunity to be successful. And we encourage you to look through that, review what we've made available, and really use this as an opportunity to learn and really treat it like something that's going to be an opportunity to prepare you for the future. And all of us that have spent so many years putting this together and dedicate, months making this happen, we really love this opportunity to see it all come together and see you all enjoy it. So have fun, enjoy everything, and also just use it as an opportunity to learn, but try not to treat it like a competition, even though I know everyone's going to do that. Meredith, what do you think?
As a former competitor, my final thoughts are a bit different. First is always communicate with your client if you have a question and that is something that needs to be communicated. Submit a ticket. Make sure that what you are submitting is valid, relevant, thought out. That is also an interaction. So submitting something that's just yo, can I use X question mark? That doesn't seem very professional to a client. Or saying, hey, just as an update, I'm running away to the restroom. Those aren't tickets that need to be submitted. So make sure you're submitting relevant tickets. And then last but not least, trust that when we say everything is monitored, that everything is monitored. I learned the hard way as a former competitor. Don't follow the same mistakes or make the same mistakes I did. And then please have fun. We are here for you and to help you become more educated in pen test and interacting with clients professionally. And we love to see you all grow throughout the competition each year.
Yeah, and with that, thank you all for listening to us ramble for a bit. We hope this prepared you well for the competition. I'm looking forward to seeing quite a few of you at various regional events. I know Meredith is doing the same, and hopefully we will also see many of you at finals in January. So good luck, have fun, make it a great season, and let's make the 10th year of CPTC the best one yet.